Hello, everyone, and Merry Christmas Eve. And welcome to Retro Brick Reviews, where today, to celebrate this holiday, we'll be taking a look at LEGO Creator set number 10245, Santa's Workshop. This set released all the way back in 2014 with 883 pieces and 6 minifigures for $70. It was officially part of the LEGO Winter Village lineup that's been running since 2009, although due to this set being based on the North Pole as opposed to just a generic Christmassy village, this set doesn't fit in very well with those other sets, but I still think it is a phenomenal set that is definitely my favorite set from the quote-unquote Winter Village lineup. And in general, it is my favorite Christmas-based LEGO set that the company has released thus far. And without any more further ado, let's just start taking a look at this phenomenal set, starting off with the minifigures. The first figure included in this set is, of course, Santa Claus himself, who is not exclusive in any way, shape, or form. This figure is actually fairly common. It first appeared in 2012 in the 8th series of LEGO collectible minifigures, before appearing in an assortment of LEGO City Advent calendars, I believe from 2013 to 2016, as well as appearing in this set and a little $10 Christmas little gift set called Santa's Visit. He might have also appeared a couple other places, but that's just where I know him from. But yeah. So this figure may not be exclusive, but he is still very nice to get. And a very good-looking figure. Starting off, the hat piece is of course specialized for Santa, and it does look very nice with the red and white, and it looks a lot better than the older LEGO Santa minifigures that just used a pirate bandana piece. You can see that overall the hat looks pretty good around all sides. I like how the brim does actually look quite fuzzy, at least around the edges, and you can see that the little ball of the hat is molded into the fluffy rim, and that just to make the printing easier. Because if we take this, you can see that it is not double molded, as LEGO didn't do much double molding back in 2012 when this figure first released, but instead, it's just a fully white piece with red printing on top. It still does look very nice, though. Santa's beard first appeared with the Fisherman minifigure in Series 3, I believe, of collectible minifigures, and I think it works very well for him. The torso print is quite simple, with just the white fuzzy outline, with the white fuzzy, I guess, borders of the sides of the coat and the black outline, and then just the belt. But despite the simplicity, it does look pretty nice. I think it would have been cool to maybe get a bit of back printing to continue around the belt, but it doesn't detract too much to not have it. And if we remove the beard, we can firstly get a better look at the very top of the torso print, as well as see the rest of Santa's face, where he has on a very large, jolly smile, which I really like. But putting the beard back on because, well, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's a bit odd to have Santa without a beard. While the figure was already old news by the time this set came out, he does come with an at-the-time unique accessory, which was just the present bag piece in red. Now this piece is not exclusive, as it also appears in, I think it was the 2015 LEGO Star Wars Advent Calendar, but it's still not a very common piece. And yeah, so that is LEGO Santa Claus, a very good minifigure for jolly old Saint Nick. But now let's move on to the next figure we get in this set. So, of the 6 minifigures included in the set, the only one that's truly exclusive, i.e. comes with exclusive pieces, is Mrs. Claus. To start with, though, her accessory is quite nice. It's a 2x2 round plate in tan, representing a tray, with 4 1x1 round tiles on it representing cookies. We have 2 chocolate chip and two that I can only imagine are frosted to be white with red outlines, or maybe those are just large peppermint candies? I don't know, but it looks pretty good. Removing that, though, you can see that Mrs. Claus is a very well done figure. Starting off with the hairpiece, it is the Lego Fantasy Era Castle Queen hairpiece, molded in white, which was exclusive at the time, and I believe this is still the only way to get that piece in this color, which is very nice. It looks very good. And yeah, I mean, maybe it's not the most accurate piece ever, but I feel as though at the time of 2014, this was pretty much the best you could get for a Mrs. Claus figure. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I can't really think of any other hair pieces that would look better. Like, I had a couple in mind, but they look a bit off. So, yeah, now that I think about it, this is probably the best choice for a Mrs. Claus hairpiece. But speaking of the Fantasy Era Queen, Mrs. Claus shares her face print, which I think it looks a lot like Mrs. Claus, so that's all right by me. She has this main face, which is quite smiley, and this is the one where I think we have a great likeness. The alternate expression is more angry, and I don't like this one as much. To me, this one doesn't look as much like Mrs. Claus, but it's pretty good still. You can see that she does get a red cape, and I'm not entirely sure where they got that idea from. Maybe it's just supposed to represent, like, a coat or a robe? Not entirely sure, but it does look very nice. The torso is, again, not new, and it is, again, from... Actually, I think this one was from the Lego Kingdoms, the Princess minifigure from, like, 2010, 2011, somewhere in there. Might be wrong about that, but I believe that's where it's from. This wasn't a new piece for this set. It might have actually even been from 2013 Castle, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, it's not a new print, but I think it works very well, and it does blend very well with the newly printed dress piece, which represents a nice apron with a couple of candy canes in it, as well as a sprig of holly. And yeah, looks pretty good. And turning her around to the back, you can see that the back printing is also quite nice, and it just continues the detail from the front, but it's good. Just flattening the cape back down. That is Mrs. Claus, who is another very nice figure to get in this set. Big fan of how LEGO did her, and to date this is the only LEGO minifigure of Mrs. Claus, so I think this would be a pretty good figure to try and get. If you can find this set secondhand, of course, which you should be able to. It's not too expensive on the third market. But anyway, so that is Mrs. Claus, and now let's move on to the next figure of the set. The last four figures included in this set are all elves, and none of them have any exclusive parts to them, so I'll go through them rather quickly. And you can see that they all have the same elf cap piece that appeared in LEGO Minifigure Series 11. So it is a yellow, an entirely yellow piece, but then all of the cap, the whole cap, is printed in bright green, which I think looks pretty nice. I mean, it would have been cool to maybe get a different color for the cap. Like, I personally think it would have been nice to get a blue cap for at least a couple of the elves in this set, maybe, but green still works fine, and I think it does look very good on this first guy, who has a very common LEGO city face, and that overall print also appears in a bunch of city sets. But it is still a nice, not overly common print for the torso. And then he, of course, has green short legs, which aren't the most common thing. This is the only of the four elves in the set to get any back printing, and it looks pretty nice. So yeah, that's the first elf. The second guy has a pretty cheeky smile, as well as some nice blue overalls with a couple of tools in the pocket in the front. This is an older print, I believe from the mid-2000s, so no back printing, but that's alright. He still looks pretty good. This third guy gets this nice dark blue shirt with red striping as well as some bright red pants. And this guy is actually the only of the 4 elves in the set to get an alternate face print. You can see this main face has him looking very happy, probably because he's so excited that Christmas is upon us. But if we turn his head around, he looks pretty sad, and I'm not entirely sure what that's about. Maybe he accidentally messed up on a toy he was making? Or maybe he's just sad because soon Christmas will be over and it'll be another whole year before it comes around again. I don't know. I definitely feel as though the main facial print works much better for the upcoming to Christmas or even Christmas Day scenario that you'll likely have for this set, though. Yeah, pretty cool figure. This last guy, though, is definitely my personal favorite of the 4 elves. First off, he has this very young-looking face print with big eyes, a big smile, and some freckles. And then his torso print, I really like that print. It originates from a Lego SpongeBob set, the Glove World set from 2011, and it appeared in that set, this set, and the Fairground Mixer, and I'm not sure if it appeared in any sets besides those 3, so it's not a very common print, and I think it looks very good. You have 3 stripes, and a big red bow tie, which is pretty cute. You also note the dark azure legs, the short legs, which I doubt are exclusive, but they're not very common, I would presume, since this is the only time I've ever seen them in that color. But yeah. And that is the last minifigure of the set, so now let's move on to some of the builds included here. Starting off, here we just have a couple of small little side builds that go to help set the North Pole Christmas setting. To start with, we have this nice North Pole sign with a stickered 1x4 on there to show the North Pole name with a bit of snow caked on top. And this just has the standard red and white candy cane design with a little nice red ball on top, a wreath on the front, and the white dish on the bottom. Definitely would put this in a snowdrift, by my guess. The Christmas tree, on the other hand, stands on a brown dish, so maybe it would be inside of the workshop. Or alternatively, Lego just did this to represent maybe the roots going into the ground and not being fully covered. Or actually, now that I think of it, it's probably just because the branches extend past the 3x3 area, so it probably just wouldn't get touched by snow. Whatever the case, this is probably one of my favorite Lego Christmas tree builds. I really like the round shaping to it, as well as how you do get some nice shape to the branches here. I especially like this cheese slope here. There's a little gap underneath it. I don't know, but I really like that. The tree does just get 4 ornaments on it, but I think that's perfectly fine. And then up here you have a little star, which I kind of would have liked if the star was golden, but this works fine, and to be fair, I'm glad that they didn't do what they did in, I think, the 2013 LEGO Winter Village set and use a trans yellow starfish up there, because that would have just looked weird, and I much prefer this piece. Even though, again, I kind of wish that maybe they could have done the paddle piece in the back in white, and then maybe done the actual star piece in yellow. But again, that's just kind of a nitpick. This is still a very nice design for a Christmas tree, and one of my favorites. Next up, here we have some reindeer. Starting with this smaller one, this is obviously supposed to represent a reindeer foal, and he looks very cute. Little short, stubby legs. I love the little clip piece used for the tail, that's so cute. And then the head is actually a very well done design because it uses the battle droid body piece, and the clips where you would attach the arms are used to attach the antlers, which here are just little clips because he's so young. And then at the front you attach on this 1x1 brick with printed eyes. Yeah, pretty cute little reindeer foal, although if I did have a little suggestion, what I've been doing with this is I've been taking off the brown stud you get here, and I've been replacing it with an extra trans red stud the set comes with, so then you can have this be Rudolph, which I just think is a nice option the set gives you, even if unintentionally. Speaking of Rudolph, you also get You also get Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, and Vixen. And yeah, the set maybe should have come with 8 reindeer, but I get that would have driven up the price. So I'm fine with just getting 4, and here's just our representative here. This can be any of them, I don't know. They're all the same design, which makes sense. And yeah, they're a bit larger, had a 2x4 area, they have bigger hooves, and at the back they get another printed piece, which is this curved piece with some fur coming down the back. That's a nice print. And then they also use Exo-Force arms for antlers. Very well done reindeer, and also you have this little bit at the back, which can be removed, and you can replace it with this section, which represents a little strap with some jingle bells on it. And the clip to the side is that you can attach him to Santa's sleigh, which is a very nice little build. Starting up at the front, you can see the 4 reindeer that are pulling it. And, yeah, you'd have to bend their heads at different angles to get them all to work at the same time, because their antlers do come into contact with one another, but it looks very good. And again, I'm glad that they only included 4, to be fully honest, because the sleigh would look minuscule in comparison to a set of 8 tiny reindeer. And I feel as though this miniature sleigh, though, is still very nice. So if we remove the flexi tubes that attach the reindeer to the sleigh, so we can get a bit of a better look at the sleigh itself. Give me a second. With the reindeer removed, you can see that the sleigh is a very nice build, with a very nice color scheme of red and dark green with some gold accents. And at the front here, you have a little seat, and you could easily just set Santa Claus on there. And he looks pretty good. I like the sort of sloping and curving up towards the front, and I also like the design for the little rails at the bottom. Don't know if rails is the right word, but yeah, I like the golden trunk pieces used on the ends. That looks very nice. On the back you have some lanterns. And yeah, of course the sleigh has a bunch of presents in the back, so let's look at those. You get this red bouncy ball, a pink toy magic wand, or well, I presume it's a toy, at least. You have this wrapped guitar, or well, it's in this light blue color with no printing, so I'm presuming this is wrapped. And as far as I know, this is an exclusive piece to this set, which is quite nice. Then for wrapped gifts, you get this, or well, brick-built wrapped gifts, rather. You get this 2x3 one, which looks very nice. I like the clip piece used for the bow. Here we have, this lime green one, which looks pretty good, as well as this blue one with a red ribbon. And here we have a very differently designed one, which is just this round yellow one, and I like the use of the Friends ribbon piece for the bow on top. So yeah, that is Santa's sleigh, and I'll just bring the reindeer back in here now. Not going to connect them, though, because that would take a bit of effort. But yeah, so that is Santa's sleigh, which, while it's not the main build of the set, is probably my favorite. I think I definitely like this more than the workshop, although the workshop is still very well done, and speaking of that, let's get to the workshop. So here we have Santa's workshop itself, which I think looks pretty good. Although it doesn't really look like the first castle on the left, this is still a pretty nice design for Santa's workshop. You can see that it does sort of have these 2 sections. You have this main, large, taller section, as well as off to the side you have this sort of side wing. Very descriptive, I know. And we'll just take a look at the exterior first. So starting over here, you can see you have a little set of lights, as well as some snow piling up on the ledge, a lattice window, and then a couple of just plants growing there. I'm not entirely sure what plants those are, since obviously besides Christmas trees, you're not getting much vegetation in the North Pole. Although, I guess that maybe the idea is that at least from snowfall, it's being protected by the ledge up here. Not sure. At the front, you have a couple of nice wooden poles, as well as a nice gravel path leading up to this door, which is a key in it, as well as a wooden shutter. And the door does open inwards, but we'll take a look at the interior later. Here you also have this very nice window that has some gold to it, as well as some stained glass, which is great. And up here you also have some Christmas lights, which are pretty great looking, although they are a bit annoying to put together. Yeah, pretty great. Moving over to this section, you can see on the bottom you have another gravel path leading up to another door, which again will open inwards. This one, however, has a lattice window, which is nice. You have these two little, I guess, pillory sections off to the side. Pillar isn't the right word, but it's all I can think of. Those have some nice detail and texture to them. Over here, you actually have a couple of large candy canes coming out of the side, which is an interesting piece of artistic... I don't know. I like it. Over here, you have the sign for Santa's workshop with a little lantern beneath it. And the sign does get stickered on both sides as I snap it off. Though you can see that on the other side I put it on a bit crooked, which is a bit sad, but oh well. Yeah, and then over here you can see the sort of winding design of the chimney, which has some nice stone details to it. Moving up to the second level, you have some snow on this ledge. This nice clock face print, which I believe is an exclusive print, although I might be wrong, but I haven't seen that anywhere else, at least. And then you also have two more lattice windows, as well as this nice little wooden ridge over the clock. And then, of course, the roof is just sloped in. So that's the exterior, but turning this around to what we get on the inside, I'd say it's pretty nice, although maybe a little sparse. Starting over in this section over here, you can see that on the wall we have a 2x4 tile that has Santa Needs You on it, which is, I guess, a reference to, like, the Uncle Sam posters for the United States military. And kind of a weird choice, not entirely sure why they put that there, but it's an interesting idea. And then on the other side, you have what I believe is supposed to be the nice list just pinned onto the wall. Well, naughty and nice list, although from what I can tell, it looks like everyone there has a check mark, which I guess means that at least those kids have all been pretty nice this year. Good for them. Over here, you have this little table where you can set an elf up to wrap gifts and maybe make them as well. You can see off to the side, you have both, as I break this off, I'm sorry. Here you can see both a hammer and a wrench off to the side. Then you have a couple jars of paint, a torch, as well as some light blue wrapping paper coming off to the side. And you don't really get a toy to put here per se, because that does come with a couple of completed toys, but you don't really get anything to just work on. Although if you replace the stud of the little reindeer's nose to make it Rudolph, you could just use the little stud here to represent maybe an undesigned piece of wood. So that's an idea. And if we remove this table, you can see in the back, the only other thing in this section is just that little 2x2 cylinder, I guess for just a little table, or maybe it could also be a seat. Yeah, it's a bit short for a table, so it works a bit better as a seat, I guess. I don't know, but if you want to turn it into a more proper table, if you have all 4 reindeer set up on the sleigh, which I imagine you will, since I think that is the best way to display the set, you could take the little extra pieces out of their backs that you don't use when you have them in the sleigh, and you could just put them on this piece to make it into a more complete table. Again, just another idea there. Moving over to the tower section, here you have this nice curved area with some stairs. And then starting on the bottom level, you have a welcome mat saying, it would help if I actually showed you from the other side now that I think of it. Welcome ho ho home. That's nice, I like that, that's a nice pun. And over here on the wall, you have a design for a fireplace with a burning log in there, as well as a 2x4 picture that shows Santa and Mrs. Claus in Fiji. Well, okay then, sure. And then over here on this side, you have this nice golden ladder that takes us up to the top level, where we have Santa's chair, which is a very nicely detailed build. No studs to connect him in, but he just fits in very well. Although if you have him leaning back, it can be a bit more difficult. So maybe have him just sitting straight up in here. And then over here, it'll help to see a bit better if we take the chair out for the moment. You have a nice pile of a ton of letters that he's been sent, as well as just another torch and a mug of hot cocoa. So, yeah, that is all for the interior space you get in this set. I suppose that one could probably say that it's somewhat lacking, but in my opinion, you really do get all that you need. I mean, you have a little area to make toys, you have an area for Santa to read letters, and I mean, really, you don't need much else besides that. And despite the fact that, again, I feel as though the workshop was very well done, and LEGO could have just left it at this, they did actually include one extra build with the set to expand on it a little. So turning this around to the back, somewhere in here, we would probably have this machine, which is an interesting design. Not entirely sure if this is accurate to how toys are made in real life at the North Pole, but here you can see that we have this nice machine, and I imagine that this would be what produces plastic toys, since, well, plastic toys like Lego bricks probably can't be as easily made and hand-painted by elves as, say, like, a nice wooden sailboat. So, here we are. First off, the couple toys on the belt. We have what I believe to be a classic-era spaceship, possibly meant to represent Benny's spaceship from the Lego movie, but it really could just be any classic-era spaceship, which looks nice. And then here we have this race car, which at the time it didn't really look like anything to me, although in retrospect I think this looks kind of like the Caterham Super 7 set LEGO released a couple years back under the Ideas banner. And I like the red and white striping design on the side here, and you can see that LEGO used a bunch of grill pieces for the conveyor belt. On the side here you have some grills, a nice printed 1x4 with just some dashes and stuff. This isn't a new print. We've been getting it since I think the LEGO Indiana Jones sets back in 2008, but it's a good print. And then you just have a couple of levers and a wheel. The other side has no details. On the back we have some exhaust tubes, and up top we have red and green lights, as well as this little spinny thing. So yes, that is everything we get with the LEGO Creator Santa's Workshop set, but before we finish up, let's take a quick look at the box of the set. So this set gets a pretty average box size for a set of around $70 to $80, I'd say. And I think the front of the box does a really good job at showing off nearly everything you get here. It shows off the 4 reindeer attached to the sleigh, although one is detached, which does show you how you can switch between, which is good. You see the toy-making machine in the background, as well as the little reindeer and the North Pole sign, the Christmas trees in prominence, and of course you have the full workshop. All 6 minifigs are shown off well. Yeah, really good design for the front of the box. On top, we have something that's seen often with creator sets. It's a full parts list on top of the box, which is just an interesting thing that they do. And then here we have Santa and Mrs. Claus sporting the actual size reference. Interestingly posed. Normally for the actual size reference, LEGO would just have them static, so that's an interesting decision. Over here on the top flap that opens up, you can see shown off Daddy Reindeer, Little Reindeer, Santa in his chair reading some letters, with an elf handing him a cup of cocoa. Another elf grabbing a cookie from Mrs. Claus, who's looking at the Christmas tree. Also notice the levitating picture. Then we have an elf who is setting fire to the Christmas tree. Guess he's a bit more devilish than I'd first expected. And then we have this guy who's just fixing up the North Pole sign. There isn't much interesting on the bottom aside from just another image of what we see on the front of the box, as well as just some stickers that I guess I've just never removed from the box since I got it in 2016. Here we just have some translations and some legal info. And then the back has another nice design. It shows Santa and his reindeer soaring through the sky. It shows the interior of the workshop. And I mean, yeah, then it just shows some of the features you can act out here. So you have the fireplace, which you can, of course, pose, I guess, Mrs. Claus lighting. I hadn't really thought of that, but you can. You have Santa in his study. You have an elf wrapping presents. You have someone working on the conveyor belt. And you also have some elves stacked up to work on the Christmas lights with an axe, apparently. Well, no, that's a hammer, but still, why are you using a hammer to fix your Christmas lights? That's not very practical. But yes, that's the box of this set. So now is a good time to move on to the final verdict, for at least in my opinion. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. This set is phenomenal. You get 6 amazing minifigures, a fantastic build for the sleigh, amazing reindeer. Like, I am legitimately... I was surprised by how good these are, and I still am. And a really nice build for the workshop, as well as a lot of nice accessories. I mean, really, there really aren't any real negatives with this set. I definitely rate it an A+ and call it one of the better sets of 2014. I mean, I'm not entirely sure how it would rank among the best. 2014 was a really good year for LEGO. But yeah. So, those are just my quick thoughts on this set, or well, not quick, the video's over 30 minutes long. But, I mean, I guess at the end my final thoughts were pretty quick. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.